Landscape painting is a well-established branch of ink art, having become a clearly defined subgenre by the turn of the 10th century AD, and has been studied independently and contributed to extensively by various scholars and artists ever since. Clearly embodied within this branch of Chinese painting is a tradition of depicting the natural world as a metaphor for political stability, simplicity, moral purity, and personal freedom. Recurrence of this symbolism would only become more pronounced in times of national crisis and foreign occupation. Indeed, as the Tang dynasty, 618 to 906, disintegrated, the idea of retreat into nature became a key obsession of poets, artists, and dramatists. Faced with the collapse of social structure and governmental authority around them, learned men, artists, and intellectuals sought tranquility and order within the natural world, retreating towards the mountains to find a sanctuary from the chaos of dynastic disintegration. Over time, the natural hierarchy transformed from a form of escapism and solace to a metaphor for order and a rational, structured world. Scholars of this art form expanded these ideas into their spheres: the virtue of self-control, in the face of personal or professional disappointment, the virtue of self-improvement through the study of Confucian texts and the contemplation of classical poetry, and the virtue of cultivation of expressive talents such as calligraphy and intricate brushwork. The richly inked creations that resulted from this tradition, created by these scholar artists, became symbols of their character and spirit. Under a series of conquest dynasties who ruled large swathes of China for several centuries, barriers were erected, or even outright prohibitions enforced, that prevented educated Chinese would-be officials from obtaining positions of authority within the government's administration. With the cessation of civil service exams, the intelligentsia redirected their energies towards literary and artistic pursuits, honing a rich culture centered around ink. Disenfranchised literati sought to overturn the powerlessness of their situation, and instead of literal depictions opted to present idealized and heavily symbolic landscapes rather than presenting a realistic depiction of an actual place. They conveyed the shared cultural ideas of a reclusive world through a symbolic shorthand in which a villa might be represented by a humble thatched hut. Because a man's studio or garden could be viewed as an extension of himself, paintings of such places often served to express the values of their owner. These ideas steadily developed into a concurrent trend within ink landscape painting, that of the mind landscape. These symbolic works sought to identify the core values of their protagonist, typically the painter himself, and would include references to the inner spirit, his discerning interest, and his worthy accomplishments, all the while demonstrating discernment by alluding to the stylistic and topical traditions of past masters of the art form. This technique of identifying oneself with previous proponents of the art form was crucial in developing such a reverential and referential art form that has remained so influential and esteemed right up to the contemporary culture of modern-day China and beyond. With the restoration of native Chinese rule under the Ming Dynasty, court artistry centered upon the symbolism was extremely popular. The song metaphor for the nation and its government as a well-ordered imperial garden flourish in the halls of power once more, while the literati, freshly reinstated with imperial authority, or choosing to remain aloof from official duties, displayed their actual, or at least aspirational character traits of serenity and wisdom in paintings filled with the same self-expressive and self-improving imagery and motifs that first developed by the Yuan scholar artists. Shen Zhao, 1427 to 1509, the patriarch of the Wu school of painting in Suzhou, and his preeminent disciple Wen Zhengming, 1470 to 1559, exemplified these Ming literati ideals. Both men chose to reside at home rather than follow official careers, devoting themselves to a lifetime of contemplation and to honouring the painting traditions of bygone Yuan artists. Morally charged images of reclusion remained a potent political symbol during the early years of the Manchu Qing dynasty, a period in which many Ming loyalists lived in self-enforced retirement, often lacking access to important collections of old masters. Loyalist artists drew inspiration from the natural beauty of the local scenery. One of the prominent paintings which demonstrates the precision of ink is Fan Kuan's landscape painting, Travelers Amid Mountains and Streams. 2/3 of this huge scroll form a background of imposing and impenetrable rock. A waterfall disappears into the mist that rises from the base of the cliff. The tiny scale of the travelers at the bottom of the painting shows the greatness of nature in the Shanxi province. Scaling from 11 foot 10.5 inches by 15 foot 1.25 inches, this monumental painting, High Mountain and Flowing River, by Longsen, illustrates a vast landscape with intricate detail painted with a giant brush on a platform. Although entirely recognizable as a Chinese landscape painting like Fan Kuan's, this developed from the classical style through its dense and unbroken vision and lack of any habitation. It perfectly shows the transition of the traditional into the contemporary. Images of nature have remained a potent source of inspiration for artists down to the present day. While the Chinese landscape has been transformed by millennia of human occupation, Chinese artistic expression has also been deeply imprinted with the images of the natural world. Viewing Chinese landscape paintings, it is clear that Chinese depictions of nature are seldom mere representations of the external world. Rather, they are expressions of the mind and heart of the individual artists, cultivated landscapes that embody the culture and cultivation of their masters.